Captain June Park stood at the center of the bridge on the UES Dauntless, his eyes fixed on the large screen in front of him. The message that had just come through made his stomach tight with anger, but his face stayed calm. 20 years in, Earth's Space Forces had taught him to control his emotions, especially in front of his crew. "Play that message one more time," he ordered, his voice steady. Lieutenant Minji Lee nodded and pressed a button on her control panel. The screen flickered, and the alien appeared again. It was tall, with 6 arms and skin so thin you could almost see through it. When it spoke, its mouth made clicks and whistles that the ship's computer turned into words. "To the primitive species of Earth," the alien began, its tone cold and dismissive. "The Galactic Council has reviewed your application to join our community. Your quick technological growth has been noted and is concerning. For the safety of the galaxy, the Council requires a tribute to ensure your peaceful integration. 10% of your planet's livable land and free access to all resources in your solar system. You have 30 Earth days to agree. This is not a request." Captain Park's hands formed tight fists at his sides. "When did this message arrive?" 3 hours ago, sir," Minji answered. "It wasn't just sent to us. Every major government on Earth got the same message, and sir, there's more." She hesitated, her fingers moving over her screen. "Our long-range scanners have detected a large fleet of ships holding position beyond Mars. 500 vessels, all bigger than anything we have. They arrived through some kind of portal system." The bridge fell silent. Earth had only recently discovered faster-than-light communication. They had yet to build ships that could travel between stars. Everyone on the bridge understood what this meant. Earth was trapped in its own solar system, facing a technologically superior force. "Send a message to Admiral Tay," Captain Park said after a moment of thought. "And get me a secure line to Dr. Han at Project Prometheus." "Yes, sir." "Connection to Admiral Tay's office will be ready in 5 minutes. Dr. Han is already waiting on line 2. Captain Park nodded and walked to the small communication room off the main bridge. When the door closed behind him, he finally allowed himself to sigh. He pressed a button and a screen lit up with the face of Dr. Sun Wuhan, a man with thoughtful eyes and gray hair at his temples. "I assume you've seen the Council's message," Park said. Dr. Han nodded. "Yes, they've made a serious mistake, Captain." "Which mistake would that be? Threatening Earth or underestimating us?" "Both." Dr. Han's face showed a small smile. "They've seen our official technology, the ships we've allowed them to scan, the communications we've shared. They think they know our capabilities." "What's the status of Project Prometheus?" Park asked, keeping his voice low even though the room was secure. "Ready for the final testing phase. We were planning to run the tests over the next 6 months, but..." Dr. Han shrugged. "Plans change. With emergency approval, we can install the drives on a small fleet within 3 weeks." Captain Park felt a surge of hope. "Will it be enough?" "That depends on what you mean by enough. Can we match 500 advanced alien ships in direct combat? No. Can we show them that taking Earth would cost them more than they're willing to pay? Absolutely." On the main screen of the bridge, Lieutenant Minji was tracking the news feeds from Earth. In every major city, people gathered in streets and squares, looking up at the sky with fear and anger. Emergency meetings were happening in every capital. For centuries, humans had dreamed of finding other intelligent life in the universe. Now they had, and the first official contact was a demand for submission. Captain Park returned to the bridge, just as Admiral Hyun Tai's face appeared on the main screen. She was a stern woman with short gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. "Captain Park, I assume you've analyzed the Council's message," she said without greeting. "Yes, Admiral. I've also spoken with Dr. Han. Project Prometheus could be ready in 3 weeks." Admiral Tay nodded. "The United Earth Defense Council is meeting in 1 hour. I want you there, along with Dr. Han. We need options." Her eyes moved to look at something off-screen. The Council ships have started moving. They're spreading out, taking positions around Earth's orbital paths. "A blockade," Captain Park said. "They're making sure we can't leave the system." "Correct. They've also disabled our communication satellites. We're cut off from our outposts on Mars and Europa. Captain Park thought for a moment. Admiral, with your permission, I'd like to attempt a mission. The Dauntless has the new stealth system. We might be able to slip past their blockade, gather intelligence about these Council aliens. Admiral Tay considered this. Your ship would be alone, deep, in unknown territory. Yes, ma'am. But we need to know more about who we're dealing with, their strengths, their weaknesses, maybe even find potential allies. After a long pause, Admiral Tay nodded. Permission granted. Select a small crew, volunteers only. Report to Earth Defense Headquarters for briefing before you leave. Thank you, Admiral. As the screen went dark, Captain Park turned to his bridge crew. They were all watching him, waiting for guidance, for hope. The Council thinks we're primitive, he said. They see our official technology and assume they know everything about us. They're wrong. For 50 years, Earth has been preparing for this moment, developing technologies in secret that even the Council doesn't possess. They demand 10% of our planet. They'll get a response they never expected. In his laboratory deep under the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Sun Wuhan looked at his life's work. The Prometheus drive didn't follow the same rules of physics that the Council's ships used. It didn't force its way through space. It asked space to move. The theory had come from a surprising discovery during quantum experiments. While studying entangled particles, Earth scientists had found that space itself wasn't fixed. It could be folded, with the right approach. The Council would be looking for conventional weapons, energy beams, missiles, shields. They wouldn't be prepared for ships that could appear anywhere, without warning, by simply asking the fabric of reality to rearrange itself. As Dr. Han prepared to leave for the Defense Council meeting, he smiled to himself. The Council had requested tribute, thinking Earth had no choice but to submit or be destroyed. Earth's reply would shake the galaxy to its core. Admiral Hyun Tai stood tall before the United Earth Council. Her military uniform was perfectly pressed, a stark contrast to the worried faces of the politicians and leaders who sat around the large round table. The emergency meeting room, located deep under the mountains of Switzerland, buzzed with tense whispers. Ladies and gentlemen, Admiral Tay began, her voice cutting through the noise. The Galactic Council believes we are weak because we are new to their community. They have judged us based on what they can see of our technology. They do not know about Project Prometheus. President Do-hyun Kim leaned forward in his chair. His normally confident face showed lines of worry. Can it be ready in time, Admiral? We have less than 30 days before they expect our answer. Dr. Sun Wuhan stepped forward from where he stood beside the Admiral. For 20 years he had led the secret project, hidden from the public and from alien observers. His voice was calm but filled with purpose. We have been developing this technology for decades, waiting for the right moment. The prototype works. With emergency measures, we can have 30 battleships equipped with the Prometheus drive within 20 days. Defense Minister Ji-Yu Kang tapped her fingers on the table. 30 ships against 500? Those are not good odds, Doctor. Numbers can be deceiving, Dr. Han replied. Their ships follow the laws of physics as they understand them. Ours do not. Screens around the room lit up, showing diagrams of the Prometheus drive. It looked simple, almost too simple for what it could do. Our ships will not need to match them in firepower, Admiral Tay explained. The Prometheus drive allows our vessels to step sideways through reality. They can appear anywhere without warning, without being detected during transit. The room fell silent as the implications became clear. How certain are you that this will work? President Kim asked after a long moment. Dr. Han nodded to a technician, who pressed a button. A new video appeared on the screens, a small test ship disappearing from one location and instantly appearing at another, 50,000 kilometers away. We have tested it over 100 times, Dr. Han said. It works. President Kim looked around the table, meeting the eyes of each council member. Then we have our response. Begin production immediately. And what about intelligence? We need to know more about this Galactic Council. Admiral Tay stepped forward again. Captain June Park and the UES Dauntless will slip past the blockade tonight. They will gather what information they can about the Council and look for potential allies. In the orbiting shipyards hidden inside the moon's far side, production accelerated to emergency levels. Workers labored around the clock, installing the Prometheus drives into Earth's modest but well-built defense fleet. The drives themselves were not large, each one about the size of a small car, but they required careful calibration. Chief Engineer Hannah Moon hadn't slept in 36 hours, but her hands remained steady as she supervised the installation on the flagship UES Guardian. The power coupling needs to be at exactly 42%, she told her team. Any higher and the spacefold becomes unstable, any lower and it might not form at all. Her second-in-command, Engineer Jin Lee, checked the readings. Power coupling stable at 42%. Drive is responding to test signals. We're good. To go on this one, Chief. Hannah nodded, allowing herself a small smile. That's 3 down, 27 to go. Keep moving. Meanwhile, Captain June Park prepared the UES Dauntless for its secret mission. The ship had been retrofitted with the best stealth technology Earth had developed. Materials that absorbed scanner waves, heat sinks to mask engine signatures, and a shape designed to deflect radar and other detection methods. His hand-picked crew of 20 volunteered despite knowing the dangers. Lieutenant Minji Lee took her place at communications, while Navigation Officer Taeho Yoon plotted their course out of the solar system. The Council ships have formed a net around Earth's orbital paths, Taeho reported, showing the pattern on his screen. But there's a small gap near the L4 point that they check less frequently. If we time our approach right, we can slip through during their sensor sweep reset. Captain Park nodded. Good work. And our first destination after we break through Navora, Lieutenant Minji said. According to the limited data we have from the Council's public network, it's another tribute world that joined the Council 50 years ago. Far enough from the main Council worlds to be less guarded, but close enough to have valuable information. As afar, darkness fell across the hidden launch bay. The UES Dauntless prepared to leave. Admiral Tay's voice came through on the secure channel. Captain Park, your mission is critical. Learn what you can about the Council, their strengths, their weaknesses, how they treat other member worlds. Find out if there are others who might stand with us if needed. Understood, Admiral. We'll be back before the deadline with the information you need. The Dauntless slipped silently from its hiding place, engines running at minimal power. All non-essential systems shut down to avoid detection. For 6 tense hours, they drifted toward the gap in the Council's blockade, trusting in their stealth, technology to hide them from alien sensors. As they passed the final Council ship, everyone on the bridge held their breath. The alien vessel was massive, at least 5 times the size of the Dauntless, with strange glowing patterns along its hull. We're clear, Taeho whispered as they moved beyond the blockade. No signs of pursuit or detection. Captain Park nodded. Take us to full power. Set course for Navora. The ship's engines came to life, pushing them away from Earth at increasing speed. Once they were safely beyond the range of Council sensors, they activated their conventional faster-than-light drive. Not as advanced as what the Council had, but enough to get them to Navora in 4 days. On the 3rd day of their journey, Lieutenant Minji made an important discovery. Captain, I've been analyzing the Council's communication frequencies. They don't encrypt everything. Some channels are left open for regular updates between ships. I've managed to translate some of their recent messages. What have you found? Captain Park asked, joining her at her station. Earth isn't the first to receive these demands. The Council has done this many times before. She pulled up a list on her screen. At least 30 other worlds have been given similar tribute requirements in the past century. Some resisted and were made examples of. Others paid the tribute and now exist as second-class members, their resources being drained, their people treated as lesser beings. Captain Park's face darkened. So they never had any intention of accepting us as equals. It seems not, sir. Based on these communications, they see us as a potential threat to be controlled, not as partners. When the Dauntless reached Navora, they found a once beautiful world now scarred by heavy mining operations. Using their stealth systems again, They landed in a remote area away from the main council outposts. Captain Park led a small team to a settlement that seemed to be populated by the native Navarans, beings with 4 arms and smooth, golden skin. Most looked thin and tired as they worked in fields growing crops that were clearly not for their own use. In a crowded marketplace, they met Yuna Choi, a human exobiologist who had been secretly studying the subjugated species for Earth's intelligence service. She had been on Navora for 3 years, posing as a trader. "The council's pattern is always the same," she told them in a hidden room beneath her shop. "First comes the demand for tribute. Then, once the planet agrees, they take more and more, using the excuse of galactic security, until the native population is essentially working for council interests." She showed them images and data from many worlds, all telling the same story. "We need to take this information back to Earth immediately," Captain Park said, his voice firm with resolve. "Our leaders need to know the truth about what awaits us if we submit." As the Dauntless began its journey home, the crew felt a new sense of purpose. Earth had only one real choice now. Back on Earth, as the deadline approached, the council emissary demanded an answer. The response they would receive would change the galaxy forever. On the 29th day, Earth was ready to respond. The massive council flagship hung in space near the moon, its strange curved shape blocking the stars behind it. Inside, representatives from 12 alien species gathered in the grand meeting chamber. They sat in rows based on their status in the Galactic Council, with the founding races in the front and newer members behind. The air felt tense with anticipation. The council emissary, tall and 6-limbed with nearly transparent skin, stood at the center platform. "The Earth delegation will arrive shortly to deliver their response. As expected, they have chosen the path of submission." Murmurs of approval spread through the chamber. Another primitive world would join their collection, another set of resources to exploit. Some of the representatives were already discussing how to divide Earth's territories among themselves. A small notification chimed and a view screen activated. "A single Earth shuttle has departed their planet," announced a council officer. "Scans show minimal weaponry, 1 human life form aboard. They are following our designated approach path." The council emissary's skin rippled with satisfaction. "Bring the human representative to us when they dock." 20 minutes later, the doors to the chamber slid open. Ambassador Junho Lee walked in alone, dressed in a simple, dark blue suit. His face showed no fear as he approached the center of the room, though he was surrounded by beings who could destroy his planet with a single command. "Human," the council emissary addressed him, not bothering to use his name. "You come to deliver Earth's formal acceptance of our generous terms?" Yunyo bowed slightly, his expression neutral. "The people of Earth have carefully considered your offer," he said, his voice steady and clear in the large room. "We are prepared to demonstrate our response." The translation devices around the room struggled with the slight tone in Junho's voice. The council emissary tilted its head, sensing something unexpected. "You will submit the tribute as required?" it asked, a hint of uncertainty entering its voice. "Please watch carefully," Junho replied. He removed a small device from his pocket and activated it. The main view screen in the chamber switched to show the space beyond Mars, where much of the council fleet had remained stationed. For a moment, everything looked normal. Hundreds of council ships in perfect formation. Then there was a flash of light. Out of nowhere, 30 Earth ships appeared. They weren't impressive by council standards, each barely a quarter the size of the smallest council vessel. They formed a perfect circle, evenly spaced. Laughter rippled through the council chamber. The council emissary's skin lightened with amusement. "This is your resistance?" it asked, gesturing to the screen. "These primitive vessels against our armada? Your bravery is noted but misplaced." Ambassador Junho smiled for the first time. "We thought you might like a small demonstration first." At that exact moment, Admiral Hyun Tae gave the command from her position on the UES Guardian. "All ships, activate Prometheus drives. Execute Pattern Alpha." The Earth ships began to glow with a soft blue light. Space itself seemed to bend around them, folding like fabric. In less than a heartbeat, all 30 ships vanished. In the council chamber, alarms began to sound. The view screen split to show multiple locations. Somehow, the Earth fleet had reappeared, but not where anyone expected. 5 ships now surrounded the council flagship itself, appearing out of nowhere. Others had positioned themselves around key council vessels throughout the solar system. Still others hovered near important council worlds shown on the strategic display. "Impossible!" the council emissary shrieked, its skin turning pale with shock. "Your species hasn't mastered interspace folding technology. Your ships cannot possibly—" "We haven't mastered interspace folding," Junho interrupted calmly. "We developed something better." The view screen changed again, showing Admiral Tay on the bridge of the UES Guardian, now positioned directly above the council flagship. "What you just witnessed," Admiral Tay explained, "is the Prometheus Protocol. We don't travel through space. We ask space itself to rearrange around us. Your sensors didn't detect our approach because our technology operates on principles your science hasn't discovered yet." The council chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. Without faster-than-light engines that the council could detect, without the normal energy signatures of space travel, Earth had somehow developed a completely different method of movement, one that made their small fleet effectively unstoppable. On the bridge of the UES Dauntless, now positioned near a major council world, Captain June Park watched the reactions on his view screen with satisfaction. The intelligence his crew had gathered had proved crucial in planning this demonstration. They had chosen their positions carefully, targeting locations that would show the council just how vulnerable they truly were. "Status report," he ordered. Lieutenant Minji checked her console. "All ships report successful transitions, Captain. No system failures or navigation errors. The Prometheus drives performed perfectly." Captain Park nodded. The risky technology had worked exactly as Dr. Han had promised. Earth's ships could now appear anywhere, without warning, without being tracked. Back in the council chamber, the head counselor, an ancient being with scale-like skin and 6 eyes, rose from its seat in the front row. The chamber quieted immediately. "How many?" it asked simply. Ambassador Junho raised an eyebrow. "I don't understand your question. How many ships does Earth possess with this capability?" Junho smiled again. "I think that information would be part of our negotiations, don't you?" The truth was that Earth had only been able to equip 30 ships with the working drives. But the Council didn't need to know that. Let them wonder if it was 30 or 300. Dr. Sun Wuhan stepped onto the bridge of the Guardian, joining Admiral Tay. His usually calm face showed satisfaction as he looked at the Council flagship on the view screen. "Your technology." The head counselor's voice came through the communication channel, speaking directly to Dr. Han. "How did your species develop this space manipulation without mastering conventional faster-than-light travel first? It defies the normal development pattern of every known civilization." Dr. Han considered his answer carefully. This was more than just a scientific question. It revealed how the Council thought, how they categorized and judged other species. "We took a different path," he explained. "While studying quantum entanglement, we discovered that space itself is more flexible than previously thought. Rather than forcing our way through it, we learned to request its cooperation." This simple explanation sent shockwaves through the Council representatives. Humanity hadn't just developed an alternative technology. They had discovered a fundamental property of the universe that the Council's most advanced species had overlooked. The Council emissary, now recovering from its initial shock, tried to regain control of the situation. "This display is impressive but ultimately meaningless. Our forces still outnumber yours. We could destroy your planet before what?" Captain June Park's voice interrupted as his face appeared on another screen. "Before we place our ships inside your defense perimeters. Too late. Before you can warn your homeworlds. Already done." From the Dauntless, he transmitted the final piece of information from his intelligence mission. "We've also documented your treatment of tribute worlds," he said. "We've established communication with 17 species currently under Council protection. They're quite interested in our technology." On yet another screen, Una Choi appeared, surrounded by representatives from various subjugated worlds. "We've compiled evidence of council violations against your own charter," she stated clearly. "Resource theft, cultural suppression, and illegal genetic experimentation on sentient beings." The head counselor turned slowly to face the council emissary, its 6 eyes narrowed. "You told us Earth was primitive, that they would submit easily." In that moment, everyone in the chamber understood. The balance of power had shifted dramatically. The supposedly primitive humans had not only developed technology beyond council understanding, but had also built alliances that could threaten the entire council system. "Perhaps," the head counselor said, turning back to Ambassador Junho, "we should discuss new terms." The grand meeting chamber of the council flagship had changed dramatically. The curved rows of seats, once arranged to show the strict hierarchy of the council species, had been rearranged into a circle. At the center stood a round table where representatives from Earth sat across from the council leadership. Admiral Hyun Tai's face remained calm and professional, though she felt the weight of humanity's future on her shoulders. Beside her, Ambassador Junho Lee carefully laid out documents on the table. Dr. Sun Wuhan sat quietly, observing the council representatives with keen interest. "Here is our counteroffer." Admiral Tai's voice was firm. "Earth will join your galactic council as an equal member. No tributes, no concessions of territory, no special access to our resources." The council chamber erupted in noise. Some representatives shouted in their native languages, while others made gestures of disbelief or anger. The head counselor raised one scaled hand and the room fell silent immediately. "Your technology," it said, its 6 eyes focused on Dr. Han. "It gives you a temporary advantage, but you must realize our combined forces could still overwhelm your small fleet." Dr. Han nodded. "That's true. We have 30 ships equipped with the Prometheus drive. You have thousands spread across the galaxy. In a prolonged conflict, you would eventually win." He paused, letting the admission hang in the air before continuing. "But how many of your worlds would be left intact? How many of your founding species would survive? And what would happen when we share our technology with the tribute worlds you've been exploiting?" The threat wasn't stated directly, but everyone in the room understood. Earth might fall eventually, but they would take much of the council with them. The council emissary, now standing behind the head counselor rather than at the center of authority, tried to regain control of the situation. "This is outrageous. Never in the history of the Galactic Council has a new species demanded equal standing." Ambassador Junho smiled. "Then perhaps it's time for history to change." Captain Jun Park's face appeared on the main view screen. He had remained aboard the Dauntless, which was now positioned near one of the most important council mining worlds. "While we talk," he said, "Earth continues to gather allies. In the past 24 hours, leaders from 9 tribute worlds have expressed interest in forming a coalition with Earth. They're tired of being treated as second-class members of your community." Yuna Choi, who had been granted special permission to join the negotiations from her position on Navora, added her evidence. The screen split to show her alongside Captain Park. "I've spent 3 years documenting council violations on tribute worlds," she said. "The Navaran people were promised protection and technological assistance. Instead, their resources have been stripped, their population relocated to make room for council mining operations, and their culture systematically suppressed." The view screen changed to show images of devastated landscapes, forced labor camps, and cultural artifacts being loaded onto council ships. The evidence was impossible to deny. The head counselor turned to address the gathered representatives. "We must consider our options carefully. A private discussion is required." After the Earth delegation was escorted to a waiting area, the council members engaged in heated debate. The chamber's soundproofing prevented the humans from hearing the arguments, but they could guess the content. "They're divided," Admiral Tai observed. "The older council members want to fight to make an example of us. The newer ones, especially those who remember their own tribute periods, are more sympathetic." Dr. Han nodded. "They're also curious about our technology. I could see it in their eyes when I explained the basic principles. Their scientists will be desperate to understand how we develop something so different from their approach. 3 hours passed before the Earth delegation was called back into the chamber. The atmosphere had changed subtly. The aggression had faded, replaced by a tense but professional diplomatic mood. The head counselor spoke first. "We have discussed your proposal. The Council acknowledges Earth's unique position. However, there are protocols that have stood for thousands of years. They cannot be discarded simply because one species demands it." Ambassador Junho leaned forward. "We understand the importance of tradition, but traditions that lead to exploitation must be reconsidered. We propose a compromise." He activated a small projector that displayed a new organizational structure for the Council. Equal representation for all member worlds, with leadership positions assigned based on merit and democratic selection, not seniority or military power. The Council emissary scoffed. "And who would determine this merit? You?" "A fair question," Admiral Tay acknowledged. "We suggest an independent evaluation committee with representatives from all member worlds, including former tribute planets." Murmur ran through the Council representatives. The idea was radical but not entirely unreasonable. "There is another matter," the head counselor said. "Your technology. It represents a significant shift in our understanding of physics. Some Council members are concerned about its potential military applications." Dr. Han had anticipated this concern. "We are willing to share the scientific principles behind the Prometheus drive with the Council, under certain conditions." This caught everyone's attention. The offer to share such valuable technology was unexpected. "What conditions?" the head counselor asked cautiously. "First, the elimination of the tribute system. All current and former tribute worlds must be granted full membership status," Dr. Han stated. "Second, a program to repair environmental damage on exploited worlds. Third, a new Council charter that guarantees the sovereignty of all member species." Captain Park, still watching from the Dauntless, held his breath. The conditions were bold, essentially demanding the complete reformation of how the Council operated. After a moment of silence, a representative from one of the founding Council species stood up. Unlike most of the others, this being had shown interest rather than outrage during the earlier discussions. "I am Chief Scientist Zoral of the Nathine," it introduced itself. "The technology you describe, space manipulation rather than transit through space, has implications beyond military applications. It could revolutionize travel, resource distribution, even our understanding of the universe itself." Dr. Han nodded. "Exactly. We developed it for defense, but its real value is in how it connects worlds, not how it can threaten them." Chief Scientist Zoral turned to address the Council. "I move that we consider the humans' proposal seriously. Our history is long, but perhaps that has made us rigid. Perhaps we have strayed from our original purpose of uniting the galaxy." The head counselor's scales shifted color slightly, a sign of deep thought in its species. "A committee will be formed to evaluate the Earth proposals. In the meantime, we offer a temporary agreement. Earth will retain its sovereignty, and no tribute will be demanded." Ambassador Junho exchanged glances with Admiral Tay and Dr. Han. It wasn't complete acceptance, but it was a significant first step. "We accept this temporary arrangement," Admiral Tay said. "Our ships will maintain their positions as a show of good faith, but will take no aggressive action while negotiations continue." As the formal meeting ended, small groups of Council representatives approached the Earth delegation with questions and comments. Some were merely curious about humans and their homeworld, while others whispered support for the reforms Earth had proposed. One representative, small and furred with large eyes, approached Dr. Han privately. "My world was among the first tribute planets 300 years ago," it said quietly. "We have never dared to speak against the system. What you have done today gives us hope." Outside the Council flagship, Earth's small fleet of 30 ships remained in their strategic positions throughout the galaxy. The message was clear: humanity would not be bullied or exploited. And as news of their stand spread from world to world. Something new began to take shape among the stars, a movement for change that would transform the galaxy forever. 6 months had passed since the day Earth revealed the Prometheus drive to the Galactic Council. The Grand Council chamber looked very different now. Where once the founding species had dominated the front rows, representatives from all member worlds now sat in a circular arrangement. The message was clear: all voices were equal here. Ambassador Junho Lee stood at the center of the chamber, addressing the gathered representatives. His dark blue suit had become something of a symbol. Many other representatives had adopted similar clothing styles, a small but meaningful gesture of solidarity with Earth. The Humanity Accords have been ratified by 87% of Council worlds, he announced, his voice clear and confident. The tribute system is officially abolished. All species will retain sovereign control of their territories, with voluntary resource-sharing programs established to benefit developing worlds. A wave of approving sounds filled the chamber, everything from human applause to the clicking of appendages and the humming of energy fields from species whose bodies didn't allow for clapping. From the observation deck above, Admiral June Park, recently promoted from captain, watched with quiet satisfaction. Beside him stood Dr. Sun Woo Han and Yuna Choi, who had become Earth's leading expert on interspecies relations. "Did you ever imagine it would end like this?" Yuna asked, gesturing to the diverse gathering below. June shook his head. "When they demanded tribute, I expected war. Instead, we're watching the birth of a true galactic community." Dr. Han smiled thoughtfully. The Prometheus Protocol did more than bend space. It bent the course of history. The last 6 months had been busy for all of them. After the initial negotiations, committees had been formed to draft the new council charter. Earth representatives had worked alongside beings from dozens of worlds, including many former tribute planets eager to ensure their rights would be protected. The change hadn't been easy. Some of the founding council species had resisted, fiercely, unwilling to give up their privileged positions. 2 had even withdrawn from the council entirely, though most observers believed they would eventually return once they saw the benefits of the new system. Dr. Han had spent much of his time working with scientists from various worlds, carefully sharing the principles behind the Prometheus drive. As promised, Earth had revealed the science, though not all the technical details, once the new charter was ratified. "The most surprising thing," he said to his companions, "was discovering that 3 other species had been close to similar discoveries. The Nathian were researching quantum spatial relationships that might have led them to space folding within a century. The Veldari had mathematical models that hinted at it, but they were all locked into traditional paths of development. Because the Council discouraged innovation that might threaten their power," Yuna added. Admiral Park nodded. "Their system rewarded conformity, not creativity." Below them, the council session continued. The former council emissary, now serving as a regular representative rather than a special authority, approached the Earth group on the observation deck. Its translucent skin now displayed patterns of respect rather than dominance. "Your species continues to surprise us," it said, its translator converting the clicks and whistles into smooth speech. "You could have used your technology for conquest. Many would have. Instead, you chose reformation." Before any of them could respond, Admiral Hyun-tae joined them, her uniform now bearing the insignia of the combined Earth Council fleet. The new defensive force drew ships and personnel from all member worlds, with command positions assigned based on merit rather than species or origin. "Humanity has always been at its best when challenged," she said to the former emissary. "You demanded tribute expecting submission. Our reply was to offer something better, partnership." The former emissary's skin rippled, and what they had learned was an expression of thoughtful agreement. "We have much to learn from each other, it seems." Down in the shipyards orbiting the Council's central world, engineer Hana Moon supervised the installation of a Prometheus drive on a Navaran vessel. The golden-skinned, four-armed beings worked alongside human engineers, learning the technology they would soon take back to their homeworld. "Remember," Hana explained to her Navaran counterpart, "the power coupling must remain stable at exactly 42%. Any fluctuation could cause the spacefold to collapse." The Navaran engineer named Telvi made careful notes. "Our world thanks you for this gift," he said simply. "For generations, we traveled the stars at the Council's pleasure. Now we move by our own power." Similar scenes played out across the galaxy as Earth shared its technology with former tribute worlds, helping them rebuild their independence while maintaining connections to the larger galactic community. On Earth itself, changes were just as dramatic. Knowledge flowed both ways, with Council species sharing medical, agricultural, and environmental technologies that helped solve many of Earth's long-standing problems. Cities grew cleaner, food became more abundant, and diseases that had plagued humanity for centuries began to disappear. In the new Council session, representatives were discussing the exploration of a nearby galaxy, previously considered too distant for practical travel. With the Prometheus technology, such journeys were now possible. "The expedition will include ships and scientists from 12 different worlds," announced the Nathian chief scientist Zoral, who now headed the Council's Exploration Committee. "Earth has agreed to provide the primary navigation systems, while Zavora will supply the biological research equipment." As the meeting concluded, Admiral Park, Dr. Han, and Yuna Choi made their way to a smaller conference room, where representatives from 20 former tribute worlds waited. This group, informally called the New Alliance, worked to ensure that the reforms remained strong and that no world would ever again be forced into submission. "The resource redistribution program has shown excellent results in its first quarter," Yuna reported. "Worlds that were stripped of their minerals under the tribute system are receiving technology and expertise to develop sustainable industries." A representative from a small, water-covered world spoke up. "Thanks to Earth's stand, my people have seen their first surplus in food production in 3 generations. The oceans our ancestors were forced to drain are slowly being refilled." Admiral Park listened to the reports with satisfaction. The path forward wouldn't always be smooth. Centuries of exploitation couldn't be undone in a few months. But the direction was clear. As the meeting ended, he found himself standing at a large viewport looking out at the stars. Ships from dozens of worlds moved through the rejuvenated trading lanes. Some still used conventional drives, while others, growing in number each week, utilized the Prometheus technology. Dr. Han joined him at the viewport. "Do you know what I find most interesting?" he asked. "Not once did we have to fire a weapon. Not a single shot." Admiral Park nodded. "The best victory is the one where no one needs to die." 6 months ago, the Galactic Council had demanded tribute from Earth, expecting an easy submission from a supposedly primitive species. Instead, humanity had revealed not just advanced technology, but a different way of thinking, one that valued cooperation over domination. The message was clear throughout the galaxy. The species that had been deemed primitive had instead proven to be revolutionary, not through dominance but through innovation and partnership. Humanity's reply hadn't just shaken the galaxy, it had transformed it. As his ship prepared to return to Earth, Admiral Park took one last look at the Council headquarters. Where once a hierarchical tower had stood, a circular structure now housed the reformed government. It was a simple change in architecture, but it represented something profound, a new beginning for all species, with Earth proudly taking its place among the stars not as a conqueror, not as a tribute world, but as an equal partner in a better future. And that was a victory worth all their efforts.